According to the least qualified fitness coaches on TikTok, growing your glutes is easy if you just copy these 47 exercises and do this slightly awkward hip movement. Before you know it, you'll be walking around with an absolute dump truck. This is the sort of nonsense that is spread far and wide across social media. But the truth is, it actually can be simple. And you're in luck, because if you hit the subscribe button right now, I'll show you exactly how you can grow your glutes effectively. I'll expose what's a complete waste of time, and I'll show you an evidence-based glute workout that will actually build the shelf you've been longing for.
Lateral banded walks, baby. Don't move that upper body. Think hips and legs only. Slowly bring this guy back in.
The glute med kickback. Oftentimes when we're working the glutes, we typically avoid glute med training due to the fact that the majority of our movement patterns don't involve any real level of abduction, which is where the glute med seems to thrive. Which is why when looking at especially building the kind of upper glute shelf, as many see it, implementing abduction-based movements like a glute med kickback can really help bring up a muscle of the glutes that is commonly neglected. And one of the failures I often see when people are performing this movement is the tendency to kick directly back behind them. As previously mentioned, one of the things we want to consider is abduction. So with that, we want to try and kick out towards about 40 degrees to the side here. So rather than going directly out behind us, we're going out at a slight angle to really put the glute med in a great position to exert force. And oftentimes when doing movements like this, people may say one of two things. One, stability might become a bit limiting, in which case I'd really ensure you are holding onto a machine and providing as much of a stable base as possible, just to prevent you from shifting and leaning too much over to one side, which in turn can present an external weakness, thus hindering the effectiveness of the movement. The second thing is people may often complain about their resting side leg, the one that is planted on the floor, feeling a lot of tightness, sensation, or even fatigue from holding the body in position, in which case you'll see me implementing a kneeling version, in which I'm kneeling on the bench to remove the resting side leg from facing or experiencing too much fatigue, thus removing or reducing the likelihood of that external weakness from hindering the effectiveness of the movement. And oftentimes I see the old booty builders online where they'll do an aggressive forward lean and really focus on swinging their legs back as far as they possibly can directly behind them. Sure, if that's how you want to kick back, that's absolutely fine. Just know that, as mentioned earlier, when we're really considering the glute med and effective glute med training, we do want to kick back at a bit of an angle. If you're not doing so, then you are shifting emphasis elsewhere, thus reducing the glute med's involvement here and kind of defeating the purpose of the inclusion of this movement.
Hinge back, push all the way through the backs of your heels, keep the barbell close to your shins, and explode to the top.
The B stance RDL, with dumbbells specifically. Although you can definitely do the B stance RDL with a barbell, I often find with dumbbells it allows for a slightly more comfortable movement pattern, as a barbell's positioning can present some limitations. And with this, the one thing I'd really stress here is it's key to remember that this is still technically a unilateral movement. So when you are going from one side to the other, it's really key to ensure that you're resting between sides. Ultimately what happens is, although your left side may be working at one point and your right side is resting to some extent, your lower back is working across both sides equally, thus meaning your lower back could potentially present as an external weakness or limiting factor when considering the effectiveness of this movement, i.e. your lower back may fatigue before your glutes during this movement if you aren't resting long enough between sides. Rest for 60 seconds, 2 minutes before then doing the next side, and that counts as one working set. And again, like a normal RDL, this very much works the glutes and technically the hamstrings and adductor magnus in their lengthened position. And one thing we want to try and enforce here is allowing a little bit more knee bend to then in turn drive the hips further back, thus lengthening the glutes a little bit further. You can certainly add a twist, for example, to potentially further lengthen the glutes if you so wish, but today I chose not to, as quite frankly, I didn't want to overcomplicate a movement, especially as this is one I don't often feature on the channel, but I'm doing so to provide some alternative exercises for you rather than the standard ones you may often see online. And a big thing here I often see people doing is potentially even elevating their toes here. And oftentimes people may say to me, oh, but Harry, when I do an elevated toe variation of an RDL, I really feel it more in my legs. That's probably actually your sciatic nerve that you're feeling, not quite the muscles you're wishing to target. So do not consider elevating the toes. We don't want to risk putting any stress or strain on the sciatic nerve. In addition to that, elevating the toes may actually also reduce stability, thus potentially reducing the effectiveness of the movement.
I wish I had a better way of doing cardio when it's raining outside. What the fridge? Where did this multifunctional home exercise bike designed for sufficient workouts in limited time and space come from? It's adjustable. It has a rotating HD screen. Not only does it show everything on screen, you can even watch TFNL YouTube videos on screen as well, as you've previously seen. It comes with a cool app where you can track your workouts and see what's going on, so you can identify how many calories you've burnt, the pace in which you're working, are you doing something good or not, basically.
And you can even cast Peloton classes from your phone directly to the screen.
YesOld Fitness reached out to me. They said, Harry, we want to work with you. We want to send you a bike. Would you want to promote it to your audience? And I thought to myself, that has saved me so much money and time. I'll tell you why. I'm going to prep next year, bodybuilding prep. And I'm going to have to do a lot of cardio. I can't be bothered to go to the gym to do cardio every single day. Not going out when it's raining, or if you don't have time to get to the gym, you can hop on a bike and get going. So if you can't be bothered to go outside and fancy doing some cardio in your home, click the link down below in the description, have a gander at the YesOld exercise bike, tell me if you fancy it. And you know what, if you don't want to, you don't have to. There's never any pressure. I only ever promote things that I would either use myself or things I believe somebody at home would use, and maybe somebody will.
And while I've got your attention, if you want me to continue exposing viral booty builder nonsense, please drop a like on this video. I'd really appreciate it.
And I promise you, by the third set, your glutes are going to be on fire. So if you're someone that struggles with the barbell,
the hip thrust, tried and tested, you can't go wrong with it. Ultimately, the hip thrust can be done with a machine, a barbell, a Smith machine, whatever tickles your pickle. And this movement will again work the glutes, but this time in their shortened position. And although you don't need to work muscles in their shortened and lengthened positions during the same workout, I'm choosing to because I like targeting muscles from different angles, and also when considering different positions of primary resistance, such as shortened, lengthened, etc. The big thing is to really focus on trying to keep the shins as vertical as possible. If the feet are too far forward or too far back, that will involve some change in the angle, which in turn can bring external muscles into the equation, such as the quads, etc, etc. This is a movement I would really stress people to go heavier on. Oftentimes I'll see people do a plate aside, so 60 kilos total, and I know they can hip thrust a lot more than that. Your glutes are exceptionally strong as a muscle group, so remember that. Provided you're lifting with good form and are standardizing your technique, do not be afraid to push this movement heavier and harder than you are currently doing. Oftentimes people may say to me that they're worried about hurting their lower back. That's probably far less of a concern than you think, provided you're lifting to a good standard, you are standardizing technique, and you're recovering properly. One of the biggest causes of injury I see from people is not bad form, but simply over fatigue and under recovery. If you see a booty builder online doing a dumbbell version where they're resting a dumbbell on their hips here and doing a hip thrust with said dumbbell, you've got to ask yourself why. I've already mentioned that you can probably lift a lot of weight during a hip thrust. If you were hip thrusting 100, 200, maybe even 300 plus pounds, which many of you might actually be capable of doing, how are you going to get a dumbbell that heavy onto your hips? It's not going to happen. Do not limit your ability to push a movement hard, and do not limit your ability to lift heavy purely because you're favoring a dumbbell over a barbell or a machine variation, when in reality, for most of you, you will not be able to get a heavy enough dumbbell on your hips. Therefore, you're just limiting your own progress and holding yourself back. And that's not how you get a big juicy bottom.
If Bulgarian split squats are getting a little too easy for you, try this variation with a Bosu ball.
A fan favorite here, the split squat. Again, you can do this with a barbell, you can do this with a dumbbell, you can even do this on a Smith machine, whatever tickles your pickle. I'd arguably say the Smith machine might actually be a better option here because it is more stable, but a dumbbell is more easily accessible for many people. The key thing we want to consider here is altering our body position to then place more emphasis on the glutes. And we can do so by taking a slightly wider stance. We can do so by also considering trying to keep the front shin more vertical and also adopting a slight forward lean, thus shifting a bit more emphasis onto the glutes and away from the quads, which also in turn allows you to further lengthen the glutes, which is a win-win considering this is a lengthened position dominant movement. As you'll see here, I'm holding a stick for additional support. You can do this with a dumbbell in both hands, that's absolutely fine. But one of the issues that often presents itself when people do so is stability. You do not want a movement to be held back due to stability limitations, i.e. you want to reach failure or fail the movement because your glutes have fatigued, not because you keep falling over. So grab on something, stabilize yourself, and try not to fall over if that's not going to help build the bottom. And if you see an influencer doing this on a Bosu ball or doing this in a manner that looks pretty cool but probably wildly unstable, you have to ask yourself, if I were doing that movement, would I fail because of the muscles or would I fail because I can't stabilize myself?
So that is it. That's his video. And again, like with all my videos, simply my opinion. And what I'm trying to do throughout this video is show you and demonstrate how you do not need to do silly, fancy, cool looking movements online that are overcomplicated and under effective, purely because simple is usually very good and simple is usually very effective. Oftentimes these influencers online will promote or suggest these movements for one of two reasons, or maybe even both of them. One, they look really good and are therefore very marketable and yield good engagement online, which means more views, more followers, and potentially even more money. Or they actually don't know what they're talking about, and that is a concern, but also a sad reality. And although none of these movements are particularly fun and fancy, they are bloody effective and they are bloody good. But regardless of how good a movement is, it's only going to be as good as how hard you push. Intensity is going to be key, and you need to remember that. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating another waffle about my bottom, and thank you for tolerating the video. As always, TFNL coaching is linked down below in the description and maybe even the comment section too. So if you aren't sure about how to build your booty or even any other muscles at that, fill in the application form, takes 2 minutes. We'll hop on a free Zoom consultation call. I'll give you more information regarding what coaching entails. If it appeals to you, fantastic. If it doesn't, no dramas, no hard feelings. Link down below in the description and comment section too.